Choking is a temporary blockage in your airway which prevents you from breathing properly. There are two main types. You can have a partial blockage and you can have a complete blockage. A partial blockage is what we usually think of when we think of someone that's choking. They're still able to make noise, they'll be coughing, they'll start to go into a state of panic, you might get a rapid weak pulse and clammy skin, you might also see a change in face colour, and they might be grasping their throat as they try and cough this item up. A complete blockage, on the other hand, is much more serious because this time it's completely cut off the airway, so no oxygen's getting through the system, no air is passing through the system. And in this situation, the person is likely to collapse to the floor in a very short period of time. The way we identify someone with a complete blockage is because they're completely silent. In a complete blockage, the item is completely cut off the airway, which means they can't make any noise at all. If they try and cough, they won't physically be able to cough because no air can get through the system, and they won't be able to speak either because there's no air moving through the voice box, so they won't be able to produce any words from their mouth. If someone's choking, the first thing what you want to do is try and reassure the casualty and encourage them to cough. Whenever someone chokes, they start to panic because they can't breathe, and that panic can cause a lot of problems. So try and keep them calm and encourage them to cough the item up. If that isn't working, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to deliver 5 back blows. To do this, we're going to get the casualty to stand in front of us, and using the base of our hand, we're going to strike at their upper back in between their 2 shoulder blades, which on the mannequin here will be about here. Now we need to hit them fairly hard, because if you don't hit them hard enough and cause this item to clear the airway, in a few minutes time this person could be on the floor and not breathing, which is obviously a much more severe situation. So we want to hit them fairly hard when we do this to try and cause the item to clear. Now the risk here is that if I hit them really hard in this region, they might fall forwards and hit their face on the floor, smash their head on the floor, giving themselves a head injury. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask the casualty to stand in front of us, and we're going to get them to bend over slightly, and I'm going to put my arm around their upper body here just to support them. This means now when I come in to strike on their back, if they suddenly jolt forwards, I'm supporting them with my arm, and I should stop them from falling onto the floor. So I'm just supporting them nicely like so. The other thing this does is by tilting them forward slightly, when you hit onto the back, it just helps direct the shockwave that you're creating to go through the airway a lot better than if they were just standing directly up, where it might just go straight into the back. Okay, so tilting it over enables me to support them. It also helps me to direct that shockwave better through the airway. I'm now going to come in and I'm going to deliver a back blow. When I do this, if possible, to improve your technique, rather than just coming in and hitting here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to glide upwards. Okay, so it will look like so. Like so. After each one, I'm just going to quickly look at the mouth just to see if the item's cleared. And if it hasn't cleared, I'm going to continue until I've performed all 5 back blows. So that's 2. That's 3. That's 4. And that's 5. In reality, I would go harder than I've just demonstrated there, but I've just gone slightly lighter because I'm doing it with this plastic mannequin. Once you've performed your 5 back blows, hopefully the item will have cleared. If it does clear, it doesn't just tend to slip out of the mouth, it tends to propel a good metre or 2 across the room, so watch out for that. Make sure no one's standing in front of the casualty. If that hasn't worked, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to perform 5 abdominal thrusts, or sometimes called 5 Heimlich manoeuvres. If you hear those 2 different terms, they're 2 terms for exactly the same thing. What we're going to do is we're going to get the casualty to stand in front of us, like so, and we're going to put our arms around the belly of the casualty, and I'm going to create a fist just at the bottom of the person's rib cage, and then I'm going to bring my other hand on top and cup over the top, like so. Now most people, when they do this, they put their hands too low down on the chest. Most people put their hand down on the belly button, which is too far down. To get your hand roughly in the right location, what we'd recommend you do is you ask the casualty to place their hand over their belly button. Then when you bring your fist round, you can just create a fist just above their hand, and it tends to get it in the right location just at the bottom of the rib cage. The other hand will come round on top, and then when you're ready, you're going to do a sort of sweeping action up and into the body. You're going up under the rib cage, and this will cause a vomiting, regurgitating action, which will hopefully clear the item. And we're going to do this 5 times. So if I take the mannequin once again, I'd ask them to put their hand over their belly button. My fist would come round and create a fist just above their hand, which is hopefully at the bottom of the rib cage. My other hand comes on top. I'm going to go in and up in one continuous sweep, causing this vomiting, regurgitating action. And I'm going to repeat that 5 times. Now this process is quite damaging, so if you ever have to perform this on a real person, you should always send them to the doctors or the hospital afterwards to get them to checked over, just so you can check that it hasn't caused any internal damage when you've done these. Once you've performed 5 back blows and 5 abdominal thrusts, if that hasn't cleared the item, you're now just going to continually repeat cycles of 5 back blows, 5 abdominal thrusts over and over again until an ambulance arrives. In terms of when you should call for an ambulance, if it's a partial blockage, so someone's still able to make some noise, we recommend that you do 5 back blows, 5 abdominal thrusts, then call for an ambulance, and then repeat cycles of 5 back blows and 5 abdominal over and over again until that ambulance arrives. If it's a complete blockage, this is where the person's completely silent, they're not able to make any noise. Because this is more serious, we would recommend that you call for an ambulance straight away before you do anything else, and then you're going to perform 5 back blows, 5 abdominal thrusts over and over again until that ambulance arrives. If at any point during this routine the casualty collapses to the floor, you're going to dive straight into the CPR. Even if they're still breathing for the first few seconds when they're on the floor, we're going to dive straight into the CPR because that CPR action is the best thing for them. There's no point trying to lift them up off the floor so you can hit them on the back. We just dive straight into the CPR, A, because the CPR action is quite good for them, but B, it could be in a few seconds they're not going to be breathing, in which case the CPR is what we want to be doing. And you're still going to deliver both the compressions and also the breaths. That's really important.